Welcome to day 3 of my Norwegian Fjords cruise aboard P&O Iona. And the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that we haven't docked in Stavanger yet. Which meant we had a morning on board the ship and it gave us time to go to the Keel Cow for breakfast. Which friends who'd been on board the ship before had told us was highly recommended. Now breakfast here is a specialty dining option. However, and as you can see, the prices here are very reasonable. Even the full English was only £3.50. I opted for a tea and an orange juice for drinks, and then I went for the Eggs Benedict with the smoked salmon. This was absolutely the perfect way to start the day. And my brother went for the bacon and egg breakfast bun. And we also shared the mini pastry basket. And as we still had a couple of hours to wait until we docked, I headed down to deck 6. This is Vista's, the Costa coffee shop on board Iona, which sells coffees, teas and pastries at an additional charge. And while these pastries looked delicious, I decided to pass because I'd had such a large breakfast. There's a good selection of things to purchase here, and a bit like the Keel Cow Breakfast, I don't think the prices are too unreasonable. And it wasn't too long until we finally docked. It was now gone 1 o'clock before we could disembark the ship. This really meant that our time at Stavanger was going to be really curtailed. It also meant that we weren't going to be able to do all the things that we had wished. It just meant that we were going to have to cram so much into the 4 hours that we were on shore. While the weather was cool and drizzly, we weren't going to let that affect our day. And one of the first things you see when you leave the ship is this amazing mural. Street art is really popular here and you can see it almost anywhere. This particular piece really made me smile. And usually when people leave the ship, they make one of two choices. They either cross the road and head into the quaint Stavanger Old Town, or they continue walking around the harbour. We decided to walk around the harbour, but not before visiting the Tourist Information Centre first. Here you could find about all the local attractions in Stavanger and even get tickets for the hop-on, hop-off bus. Or if you're feeling more adventurous and you haven't tired of 2 days at sea, you can also get boat rides here too. We had already made a list of the things that we wished to see in port. And then it was just a case of walking around the city centre to see how many of these things that we could find. And check out that piece of art on the Stavanger Port Authority building. And as I show you around the harbour, I'll give you a little bit of background about Stavanger for all you history buffs. The first known human inhabitants here was over 10,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. And records show that Stavanger became a city in 1125. One of its most famous buildings, Stavanger Cathedral, was built at this time. However, this was closed during our visit. The city grew on the back of important industries like shipping, shipbuilding and fishing. And it became a boom town in the late 1960s and 70s on the back of Norwegian North Sea oil. It is now known as the oil capital of Norway. And these days it's also a very popular tourist destination, especially for cruisers. I rather suspect if you came here out of cruise season during the winter, it would be a very different place. Iona really is a beautiful ship. And after stopping off to get some photos of the ship, it was time to continue exploring. Just as I approached here, I could see a sign and something just caught my eye. Oh, that's charming, I thought. Before I saw lots of people standing around just ahead of me. Now, I'm not going to lie, my Norwegian is pretty dismal. Perhaps this means something else in their native language. But in the end, it was all made clear it was just the name of a skateboarding company. And after all that confusion, it was nice to get back on track. This is Over Holmgate, and known locally as Fargarden. For most tourists, this is a popular dining and shopping area known as the Colourful Street. This street is in stark contrast to the white timber homes of the Old Town. This was the brainchild of local hairdresser Tom Korzik back in 2005, who wished to create a vibrant environment to draw more people to his salon and local businesses. One of the places I wanted to go to was Bokker and Borst, however it was completely full. So we headed to another bar called Frock and Pill, which was just around the corner. It had a great relaxing atmosphere and a fantastic choice of cocktails and beers. After having a drink, it was time to get back on those cobbled streets to explore some more. Has anybody seen the new Indiana Jones movie? Was it any good? Please let me know in the comments below. And for those of you who watched my Azura videos from the Canaries earlier in the year, you'll know how much I love the spa. However, I have been told not to try and attempt to bring additional booze on board. It looks like the situation here is nowhere near as relaxed as it is in the Canaries. One of the things that lets you know you're not in the UK is to see eggs in fridges. So we ended up just getting a few additional snacks for the cabin. And by now the weather was starting to deteriorate, so we decided to wander back towards the ship. And it looks like that everybody else had the exact same idea. There's no way you're going to catch me standing in the rain waiting to get on board the ship. So I took the opportunity and headed up into Old Town. This area consists of around 250 small wooden cottages built in the 18th and early 19th centuries. After World War II ended, city planners wanted to raze all the existing wooden buildings and replace them with concrete structures. But thanks to architect Einar Heiden, the council voted to conserve part of the old city centre. And while some of the buildings are owned by the council, the vast majority are privately owned. This is a very picturesque area and somewhere I recommend you visiting when you go to Stavanger. And here was a really nice looking cafe that I really wish I had more time to go and check out. And with the rain getting heavier and a deadline to get back, it was time to head towards the ship. And I also remembered I had dinner booked at the Indian restaurant Sindhu tonight, which was going to be the perfect antidote for a cold and wet afternoon. And by the time I got back to the dock, the queue had pretty much evaporated. And looking back to see how few people were behind me, I think I cut this pretty fine. I then popped back to the cabin, changed out my wet clothes, and sat into the little window seat and watched sail away. And this is just another reason why I say that a sea view cabin is better than a balcony. I'd had nothing to eat since breakfast, so by this stage I was starting to get pretty hungry. I had one of my favourite meals ever at Sindhu aboard P&O Iona. I was pleased to see that the menu here was completely different to the menu on board Iona. Sindhu is an a la carte speciality dining option. And just a note to say that none of the food here is particularly spicy or hot. I did have a few comments about that on my previous video, and I just wanted to explain that here. And once again, you can eat here without breaking the bank. And one thing I always notice when eating here is how amazing the smell is. Decided to get a selection of starters. We had sev puri, the puff flatbread bites filled with chickpeas, potato, red onions and yoghurt, and the paneer jalfrezi dosa, which was filled with spiced paneer, peppers, ginger and a coconut chutney. And finally it was the chicken jira chimi boy, which was cumin and chili buttered chicken breast, romaine lettuce, soft boiled egg and a coriander mayonnaise. I'll be honest, after all of that I was starting to think we'd overdone it with the starters. Though I was convincing myself that I worked up an appetite with all that walking. And to say I was a little surprised when a vegetable thali plate turned up is an understatement. I had very little of this. For my main course, I went for the Sindhu signature plate. And as my pronunciations will be terrible, basically it was duck, beef and lobster. And it was just amazing to taste as it looked. And I went for the elements of trifle for dessert, passion fruit jelly, lemon posset and coconut. And the other desserts were the green pistachio and saffron parfait and the chocolate rasmali, which capped off another amazing meal at Sindhu. After dinner I headed back to the cabin to freshen up before heading out for the evening's entertainment. Up in the Skydo, P&O house band Pulse were going to be playing some rock classics. But just like the Voxens, who I saw a couple of nights before, the sound in the Skydo was terrible. We hope that P&O find a way to improve the acoustics in this venue. I decided to go to Headliners Theatre to check out Kaylon Ray, whose claim to fame was being a contestant on The Voice and X Factor. It was a pretty good show, and afterwards we went to the Emerald Bar to grab a quick drink. a young lad had taken it upon himself to entertain us with his piano playing. Unfortunately, he was quickly approached by a crew member who told him to stop playing. I really couldn't understand what the guy's issue was. I've seen other youngsters play pianos on other cruise ships till late at night and there'd be no issue at all. And so another evening ends with a bizarre incident regarding the crew. Many thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing.